Oh, Joe Riggs. Joe Riggs has a video out. I saw it today. I hate these. These make me uncomfortable. You guys know this guy named Charlie? It's like Charlie Zaletnik, Charlie Z. And Charlie's whole shtick, and by the way, Charlie has the it factor. He's a star on camera. He's a knucklehead. I understand. Don't think you got to correct me on Charlie, but there is something about why Charlie's videos do so well. And his entire shtick is skinny Charlie goes into an actual professional fighting room and challenges the baddest dude in there. Then he throws like one punch, something along these lines, or gets punched one time, something like this, and then runs away. And it's not really designed to be funny, which is where the brilliance of Charlie comes from. Like, he's very serious that he wants to fight, but then something happens every single time he's in a fight, which is he changes his mind after one punch, offensively or defensively, and he gets out of the ring. And I know if you guys aren't familiar with Charlie, you think that he's in there performing a bit. He's not. That's what makes it work. He's being serious, even though it's the same thing, rinse and repeat. And I'm talking about some of the biggest and baddest dudes out there. He goes in and insults them to a level, and then these guys always take the bait. Always. They want to fight him. They get upset. They get their feelings hurt. It gets under their skin. Charlie gets his way. Charlie gets a video. Out the door he goes and repairs some other gym in some other city at some other date. Goes and does it again. This is the Charlie stick, okay? Those make me uncomfortable. Even though I can pay Charlie those compliments and tell you that he works on camera and the entire gimmick, there's a reason it does millions of views, and I'm sitting here talking about it now, it still makes me uncomfortable, right? When things aren't even, when things aren't level, when one guy doesn't want to be there, but maybe he thinks he does. You know the difference between that two? Where a guy thinks he can walk in on day one and go against a pro. So the pro sees this as an opportunity, puts the gloves on, it just beats him and goes, well, it was a workout. Nobody's going to come arrest me for that. You've seen that. Okay, Joe Riggs did none of that. I'm not friends with Joe Riggs, but I'm friendly with Joe Riggs, and I wish I were friends with him. Like, Joe Riggs is my kind of guy. I've known Joe for over a decade, more than that. But I know him from afar. I know him the way you guys know him. I watch him on TV, and I read his interviews, and I admire his work. I guess I go into the category of fan. This happens to Joe, what I just explained. Some guy comes to the gym. I don't have the whole backstory. It wasn't a full part of the piece, but I feel as though I know it. I feel very confident in telling you guys, some dude walked in the gym, talking a bunch of trash. He was the tough guy, at least within his own mind, and ends up in the ring sparring with Joe Riggs. Now, I've seen this a million times, and the fighter gets scared. In all fairness, the fighter really doesn't set out to be a total jerk. He's scared, and he's only trained one way. Fighter is never taught how to do this gently. He's trained one way when there's an opponent in front of him wearing gloves coming to attack him, and largely that comes out, but it hurts my heart. I don't like it. Makes me feel bad. Joe Riggs couldn't have been nicer to this guy. Joe Riggs did him the favor of giving him the experience that he wanted, and Joe Riggs taught him a lesson. And I don't mean that from the school of tough love. Not the school of tough love of Joe taught him a lesson. He put him over his knee and he spanked his little bottom blue. No, not like that. Joe taught him a lesson by getting him tired, by having him miss. Joe would touch him back and let him know, show him where he was open, show him what a professional who Joe is, sees his opportunities, show him where the skills of the sport come in, show him what movement is like, show him about the pressures when things aren't going as well as you think. Joe taught him a very valuable lesson and never hurt him once, never even tried to. When I was training at Team Quest, it was a forming gym. Now, when I tell you guys what happened, you're going to, how could you guys have possibly have done that? The sport of MMA was very forming. They were not big mega gyms right now. We had practiced with 3 guys for 2 years. For 2 years, it was Dan, Randy, and me. After 2 years, we went to 4 guys because Matt Lindland moved home from Nebraska. Now it was Dan, Randy, Matt Lindland, and me. Point I'm trying to make is somebody came in and joined our gym. We only have one class. At 3 o'clock every single day, we're on the mat until we're tired and we stop. So if you come in, regardless of your skill level, you're going to be in there with us. Now, in today's world, that would not happen. You would have a belt system, might be something you guys could relate to. The white belts are over here, and the blue belts are over here, and the brown and black belts kind of combine, but they're over here, and everybody stays apart, and everybody's skills are real equal. And you get where that makes a lot of sense. You get where amateur practice is over here, so it's kind of similar skills, at least in theory, and then pro practices later on in the day. You understand that. But I think that you'll also understand what I'm saying when we didn't have that. We didn't have the coaches for it. We didn't have the facility for it. There was no designated areas. There was no designated times, and there just wasn't enough bodies. We just did one practice. And it was a situation where if you went with Randy Couture and it was your first day, okay, you could have done this every single day. If you go with Randy Couture, you're not coming in first. He was the heavyweight champion of the world. Nobody could beat him, regardless of how good you were or how long you'd practiced. Nobody could beat him, which is what being the heavyweight champion of the world represented. It could be your first day with none of those blessings. You could go with Randy. You could have forgotten your mouthpiece and not bought in headgear yet and gone with Randy, and you will not leave with a scratch on you. Randy Couture had the ultimate control. He trained his whole career this way, and Randy could turn it into a workout. He could get tired. He could get his heart rate up. People will say that practice makes perfect. That's not true. It's close. Perfect practice makes perfect. And that is what Randy would do. He would just focus on positions. Didn't matter where you were, he was focused on him. Are my hips in the right spot? Are my hands in the right spot? Is my head driving across? Where's my center of gravity? I mean, it was these kinds of things, and Randy could always make a workout out of it. Here's a riddle for you. Randy Couture was the United States national Greco-Roman wrestling champion, and he never trained a single day with Greco-Roman wrestlers. How does that work? How can you be the best Greco-Roman wrestler in the country when you never practice with a Greco-Roman wrestler? How does that work? Well, Randy made it work. He would go find 5 bodies. He would put them on a wall. Randy would go in the middle, and they would rotate on him. So even if they did not know fully what they were doing, even if they just had a very rough idea, but they were athletes and they were there, Randy would control his own body. He would get to the wrist. He would get inside. He would pull. He would attack the hips. He would drive everybody out of bounds. He would practice perfect technique. Perfect practice makes perfect. And the really good guys can do what Joe Riggs did, which is to find themselves in a situation, be able to assess it for what it is, bring their own skill level down, give this person an education, and everybody leaves in one piece. And even though the really good guys can do it, it's very few times that I see something slip onto the internet where that happened. Joe Riggs deserves a pat on the back. Joe Riggs deserves to be recognized as a nice guy, as a respectful guy, as a leader in this situation, who took control of a situation that could have got out of hand, made the most of it. I trust you guys have seen the video. If you haven't, it will be in the comment section. I'm just sharing for you. As far as what happened here and Joe's participation, this was perfect.